Well, when you want to watch a movie and it doesn't have audio description, where do you turn to? Hulu. Hi, I'm Mac from movieguy.com, and this is a review of Fireheart. Just so those new to my channel understand what I'm talking about when I say audio description, I'm a blind film critic. And I haven't yet done a movie review of a film without audio description. And the reason for that is that I usually like to talk about the audio description in the film, but I thought it might be fun to actually talk about what happens to the enjoyment of a film when there is no audio description. So I picked like an inconsequential film. I wanted to pick something that had been released in 2022, and I knew there was this film Fireheart on Hulu. I had seen it. It pops up every once in a while, like suggested for me. I knew nothing about it. Did not check the IMDb page. I knew it was animated. That was it. So I was like, oh, an animated film. And the reason why I went into it and chose it was because it was animated, because animated films typically, if you're going to watch something without audio description, usually they employ really good voice actors who make the performances really dynamic and interesting, and they're not really one-noted. They're very, they're very into the character that they're doing, because they don't have the physicality to add to it. That's left up to the animators. So they usually bring a lot of really great voice work to their performances. Add to that the need for generally a lot of sound effects and really comprehensive score. And usually they're aimed at kids, so they're really not that hard to follow. It's not like the plot is deep and meditative, and it's usually noisy, so there's something always happening, so you don't have these long silent periods. So there were a lot of reasons why I chose this. And Fireheart delivered on the promise of what I thought it would give me. It's about a girl who, her dad is a firefighter, and this takes place back in the 1930s, and she really wants to be a firefighter when she grows up, but her dad's like, no, only men can be firefighters. And she's like, ah. And then cut forward, she's 16 and living in New York, and there is an arsonist that is setting fire to the Broadway theaters specifically, and they're also kidnapping all of the firefighters in town. So like her dad is the last remaining firefighter, and he's like in retirement or something, and the mayor comes and recruits him. And it's like, we're out of firefighters in New York City. I'm serious. This is really what the movie is about. And and so he's like, well, I'm going to need more firefighters. I'm going to need a chemist, and I'm going to need a driver. So the mayor, played by William Shatner, goes out and gets two more people, but also the firefighter's daughter. The firefighter is voiced by Kenneth Branagh. His daughter, who is voiced by Olivia Cooke, decides that she, Georgia, is going to become Joe, and she's going to try to pretend to be a dude. She's going to Mulan her way into the firefighter team and figure out and help her dad fight the arsonist, and maybe if she can catch the arsonist, she'll finally win her dad's love and acceptance, and he'll let her be a firefighter. Yeah, so that's basically the plot of the film. As the film develops, you start learning, there were some moments where like the arsonist was in there, and the arsonist has this like weird voice, and because there's no audio description, I just assumed like the arsonist was either like Smog or like a Sith Lord or something, because it was this like weird, like, I can't even recreate the voice. It's like an inhuman voice, and I didn't understand how they were doing that, what the point of that was, why it existed that way. There was no rhyme or reason to any of that. So it just was. It introduced a bunch of characters into the uh, the sideline that were all these like really hardcore, cartoonish, overly voiced characters where the voice work is way, way overdone, like you're voicing for like a preschool series. But yet the film is actually surprisingly has a lot of heart to it. It talks about some heavy topics. There's actually even like a little twist having to do with the father-daughter. I actually don't want to ruin that, just in case you do happen to see Fireheart. I thought it was kind of a nice, like, whoa, okay, so this film's a little bit more grown up than I thought it was going to be. There's some creepy elements to it, very Phantom of the Opera, like how they play out some of the scenes. There's a Broadway star who is obviously black, and she talks about how hard it was for her to get to where she was, and her story sounds a little bit like The Help. So, I mean, it does touch on some more like harder issues. Plus, there's this whole girl power thing with her wanting to prove that girls can do everything guys can do and they can be firefighters too. So there's a lot of really good material there, but it's just destroyed by this like low budget voice cast. Even Kenneth Branagh feels like he's sleepwalking through the entire film. It's not a good voice performance from him. He's not very good. William Shatner's okay. He doesn't have nearly the dialogue. Olivia Cooke is really the one who has to tie this all together, and she does a good job. Actually, Olivia Cooke does a really good job with the film. I know she's not as big of a name as the others, but she took the project seriously, and she took her character seriously, and she has a Georgia voice, and she has a Joe voice, and there's a lot of emotion and feeling in her character, and she did really solid voice acting. I appreciate that. The script actually isn't that bad. If you just had good voice writers, the script is not terrible. Some of the jokes don't land, I will admit that. Some of the jokes are weird. There was a joke where they made like a reference for something about a queen, and this bizarrely voiced police chief who talks like Minnie Mouse. The voice work on this character is so bad, I assumed that was the villain the whole time because nobody talks like that. So I assumed it was a disguised voice that we were supposed to be picking up on because nobody talks up here like this all the time. And it was just so weird. I was like, that can't be his real voice. That's a character in disguise, right? He's wearing like a face mask, and the visual audience, they'd be able to see that, and we can't see that. That's what I'm missing out on, right? This is, I was expecting like a woman dressed up as a dude pretending to be the police chief, right? And that wasn't what it was. It was legitimately that character's voice, and it was so terrible. Yeah, I can't. So that was Fireheart. What did I miss out on? I don't know. I don't know what any of the characters look like. I have no idea what the character design looks like. I don't know if there were any characters lurking in the background. There's, kind of like a Scooby-Doo thing going on here, and I don't know. There's a dog that kind of is in this film. Don't know what the dog looks like. That's the stuff we miss out on. I have no description of anything 1930s. I don't know if this if this thing looks remotely 1930s authentic or not. We have no idea what the design is. But of course I have no idea what the animation style looks like. This comes from a Canadian-French animation house. It's not a major animation house. I'm not going to say that all animation houses like that are bad. From some of the things I looked at online, people swear up and down that this has quality animation. I don't know if that's true. This could look like Hoodwinked. This could look like Norm of the North. I have no idea. It could be beautiful. It could look like The Secret of Kells. I don't know what the style of animation is. I realize that there are other animation houses other than, Pixar, DreamWorks, and Studio Ghibli that can produce solid animation. But I just don't know if that is it. So if you can see, I don't know where this is at on that scale. So you're just going to have to make a leap of faith For my blind and visually impaired viewers, should you watch it? There's a really good story here about bravery and girl power, and there's some heart in the story, but it's so muddled by bad vocal work and just the cheapness of who they hired to do this film. It's like they under budgeted this film. Somebody really underestimated the worth and the value of this film, and that really undercuts Fireheart, and it kind of ruins the film. Half of the film is aimed at the under five, like 5 and under crowd, and then the other part of the film is, I mean, there's a lot of it that could be kind of scary for that same age group. And there's a lot of themes that they touch on that older kids would relate to, but younger kids, it would go over their head. So this is really aimed at like maybe like 6 to 12-year-olds, but it just has this other element that I just don't think that they'll like. I think maybe girls, if you have a girl that's interested really in being a firefighter, obviously this is her film, because that's what that is about. Or if you have a girl and you want to inspire her to go into a profession that is dominated by men, maybe this is a great story for her. Otherwise, I think the audience for this is really limited, and there's so many other films out there to watch. I don't know why anybody would need to watch this. The sad thing is I think there was a great film here. The funny thing is, I love that Hulu just always never lets me down on not having audio description for titles. My favorite thing about this is that they list this dubbed English audio track as the default audio track, right? It's not even the original audio track. As I mentioned, this was a French-Canadian production. So if you go on IMDb and you look up the film, there's a completely different voice cast that's listed as like the primary voice cast, and then you have to like kind of scroll over, and then you'll get the American or English language voice cast, Olivia Cook and Kenneth Branagh and William Shatner and everything. But there's like a different cast that's listed at the beginning because they're the original voice cast. So the dubbed English is what Hulu considers to be the default. They can't even be bothered to include the original voice work. If you wanted to watch the film in its original language, you wouldn't be able to. So weird. It's so weird. Anyway, Fireheart. Yeah, it's not the worst film I've ever seen. It actually could have been a lot better. I wish somebody would just take this film, recast it, and put it back out again, because I think there's a better film here, and it was just ruined by cheap voice acting. So I'm going to go ahead and give Fireheart a C-. So that's kind of an idea of what it's like to watch a film from my perspective that has no audio description. It was hard for me to follow certain elements. I didn't know what characters looked like. I didn't understand the villain. I didn't understand her motives. I didn't understand the voice of like the Sith Lord thing going on there. Didn't understand any of that. I didn't pick up on the why. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but also this is like the easiest genre to pick up on. Like if you're going to pick up on something, it's going to be this, because usually they dumb these things down for kids, so they're pretty easy to follow. But yeah, so let me know if you saw Fireheart. I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess this is one of my, every once in a while I review a film, and right now they're getting like no views. So I'm going to guess Fireheart gets no views. I don't think there's anybody out there going, man, I really want to talk about Fireheart. Yeah, that was kind of the point of this review. Inconsequential film got reviewed so that I could do one and talk about what it's like to see a film without audio description. So as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you did actually happen to watch this video, and check out more of me at macmovieguy.com. And as always, if you want to actually watch a film with audio description, head over to the audio description project and find something that actually has audio description with it and choose it. But if you want to watch Fireheart, that's up to you. You do you. Until next time.